Hello and welcome to this episode of the Humans of Horses podcast. My name is Elle and with me today I have Gareth and Talya. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay, I'm Gareth Marie from Heartfelt Horsemanship. My job description would be interspecies relationship counselor, because horse trainer doesn't fit the bill, nor does animal behaviorist anymore.
Short and sweet. Yes. And I'm Talya Marie Primich. And I'm formerly equine as well as human therapist, mainly specializing in fascia release and massage. And I'm obviously on the horsemanship journey too. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
That's really exciting because I think Talya, were you at Birmingham last year?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I came across you, but I sort of didn't realise. It sounds a bit weird. I didn't really realise you were there. And then I started following Gareth, and then you sort of popped up, and then I connected the dots, and I was like, that's really cool. So do you want to share the story of how your paths kind of crossed?
Yes, actually, it's a very special one. So it's related. So a horse actually got us together, really. So I was living on a property in the Midlands, we live there now, but on a way different farm in the
South African Midlands.
Oh yeah, South African Midlands, majority mountains. And I had a very special bond with a horse named Lion, and he's this beautiful Arab. And he really didn't want to be caught. He wasn't interested in being handled. He didn't want to be ridden. He was very, very scared of people because of his background, like what he went through. And so much so, the way people would catch him is through a nose bag with food in it. And that was the only way that they could get a halter on. And I was forever fascinated with this. And one day, friends of mine who had other horses in the herd had said, listen, we've organized for somebody to come work with the horses. Would you be keen on trying to work with Lion and just maybe being there and being a part of it? And I thought, maybe. And then in the same week, I had actually gone to a craniosacral therapist, which I found interesting. And I was speaking to him about this whole dream I have, or more like, if you want to go spiritual, it was this vision kind of thing. And I saw horses. I saw so many horses and almost native. And then he actually said, well, I know this guy named Gareth. Would you be keen on, because he has like Appaloosas, and would you be keen on getting his number? And I thought, okay, why not? I messaged him. And then 6 months, I kind of left him hanging for 6 months. And then that was the same, so 6 months later, that's when my friend had said, listen, do you want to be a part of this clinic type setup? I was like, yeah, whatever, let's try. And then Gareth rocked up, and I'm like, hold on, you're the dude that I didn't speak to in 6 months, which I was supposed to get in touch with, and I completely didn't. So from there, he taught me a lot with Lion, and I grew the relationship with Lion so much so. He wasn't my horse. He really wasn't my horse. He was just somebody I fell in love with, and I bought him his own halter, and I worked a lot with him, and he eventually, trusted me. And then now, funnily enough, literally 6 months ago, I got a phone call from his owner saying, listen, I've realized you guys had a very special bond. Can I gift him to you?
Wow.
And
so he's back with us.
He's back with us now with the +1, which is Brandy and Lion. And
with a +1.
Yeah. She came with.
They always came in multiples. Yeah.
So multi-pack.
Yeah. So I just found it quite symbolic because he was the reason we met. And then after before we got married, he moved to us, and then we got married, and he was part of our herd. So he's very symbolic for our relationship and the journey.
Wow. That's amazing. It's interesting when you sort of have something come up and then let it lie and then it comes up again and you're like, oh, maybe I should take notice of this now.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
That's just
It's
interesting.
it's
So-
very much a thing of attachment kind of drives away.
Yeah.
Because when we had to leave him behind, it was a big thing for Talya.
Yeah.
For
That
it-
was,
Mm.
it was a huge heartbreak because I had, I spent more than 12 years of my life being away from horses, because in the past I had done, the normal English riding, and I'd been, taken through the ringer quite a few times. I got seriously injured. I eventually gave up. I was like, I'm not doing this. I can love them from a distance. And for 12 years, I hadn't really been with horses. So Lion was a massive part of who I am, actually. And then when I left him behind, because I had to, he wasn't my horse and I had to move.
Yeah.
It was a big one for me. Like literally driving out of that property, I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, but Lion, and then it was funny because like, as you kind of let that go, he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. I think I can relate to that with Fionn, because he I really had it's really weird. I had this really strong feeling like he's not coming with us to the UK, and I really didn't want to acknowledge it, and I was like, no, I don't like this, but it's so strong. And it started about a year before we moved, and I was going down one path with one transporter, and they turned around and said, no, he has to go in quarantine. And I always said, if Fionn was going into quarantine, I'm not putting him through that for my benefit of bringing him to the UK. And because he would not do well in a stable, because quarantine, they have to be in a stable for 30 days. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that to my horse. It's horrible. And then when that sort of transporter came up back with that, I was like, what am I going to do? I was completely distraught. And then someone reached out and said, hey, I know this lady called Caroline who transports horses. Maybe she'll be able to help you. And she was literally the best person I could have had for the horses to move, because she was so aware of their emotions and what they needed and how to set them up for success. So it's funny how sort of one thing then leads you to another, and then makes that shift to the path that you're now on together.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's nice when those horses like Lion and Fionn come back into our lives.
Yeah. And it's funny because in those moments, because I could imagine you would have felt the same way. It feels like an impossible task to ever come into fruition, so when it does, it's some kind of miracle almost.
Yeah. How did you find horses again then, after having been away for 12 years?
So I went on a big kind of self-discovery mission, and I was involved with, a spiritual kind of group and all this stuff. And then horses were just a part of that. And then I mean, I never stopped loving horses. I also realized that there had to be a different way, because I'm quite empathetic and I've tapped into the interspecies communication quite a bit. So I love all animals. And the issue therein is that I would watch a horse being ridden terribly and in pain and then, abused. And I'd be like, I don't want to be a part of that. So I didn't ever get back on a horse because I didn't know another way. And I was like, I'm not willing to do that again. So I'm glad I got back to horses and found a kinder approach, because now it's more of a partnership and connection and a real friendship versus you will do this,
I really love that you use the word friendship, because I don't know how you guys feel about the word relationship, because it is a relationship. In sort of more ethical horsemanship, we talk a lot about relationship, but I saw somebody use the word friendship once in an Instagram post, and I was like, that's what it is. It's a friendship. We're equals and we're meeting each other where we're at. So how does that feel for you guys?
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes it's family, but friendship is and friends are the family you choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure,
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask now is like, when you guys sort of met and then grew your relationship together, how did that translate into how you show up with horses and the work that you do?
Can I get this one? um, so Talya's passion is really healing, and in the early stages, she didn't feel that healing would be horses purely. She's got a focus of healing as in its entirety. It's not horses, humans, dogs, cats, or it's just healing. So it kind of landed in Talya's lap. I've been doing heartfelt horsemanship for 2 decades, but I started teaching Talya. She really had a great feel, and I kept roping her in to help me with lessons, and it was the same begrudging that I had when I started teaching humans. I thought I would just train horses, and I liked that idea. Horses are far less complicated than people, and like all of us that do this, you figure out along the way, we can't help horses without helping the people. And I palmed off lessons on Talya on one occasion, and the horsemanship lesson turned into this incredible breakthrough for someone that never came for anything but a horsemanship lesson. And Talya came to me wide-eyed after. This is where it links.
Yeah.
This is healing.
Yeah.
The horsemanship is healing. And it's kind of blurred the lines in terms of what we do separately now, because for me, it's been a journey of discovering that I'm very sciencey, down the line, pragmatic. And every time the magical moments come up, I'm like, okay, let's explain this scientifically. And Talya's the complete
I'm like,
opposite.
don't give me science. I just want the magic.
Let's go spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm big on the woo, but I still strongly believe that the magic is a way that we measure the woo. It's the way we weigh it up. We weigh whether it is truly our intuitive magic or a little bit of an ego-driven making it into something that it's not. So I do still believe in the balance of, I talk about the balance of science, soul, and sensibility. We've got to balance them out. And that has been our union has been balancing out heartfelt horsemanship between the science, soul, and sensibility.
Yeah. Yeah, because when Heartfelt first started, it was very, very, factual science. This is how you do X, Y, Z. These are the steps to take. I think I've thrown in a bit of a curveball, but maybe positive as well.
That
Where it's
balances it out.
because the thing is, like, and Gareth did touch on it just now, it's horses don't necessarily need the help. It's the humans that do. If there weren't humans to, a better word, screw everything up, horses wouldn't have problems. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was starting with. I had a mental health background as well, and I was starting with the human side. I'm like, the humans need help. And then you get burnt out on that because,
No one wants to hear they need help.
no one wants to hear that they got problems. So yeah, I mean, I think, but Heartfelt's grown a lot in the sense of, Gareth built such an incredible business up on his own, really. I know other, but like mainly on his own. And it's had a magical growth turning point, if you can put it like that. It's kind of
an evolution.
a very much an evolution, but also science backed, but also connection based, and that's where the spiritual comes in, but not like the airy fairy, oh my god, my horse loves color purple. It's not like, but yeah, I think we're still very much navigating exactly where we're going as far as the merging
Yeah.
goes. But I think, yeah, it's very much on the right path.
Yeah, I think I have long ago abandoned the idea of a solid, unchanging paradigm of what we do. And being able to change when new information comes up, whether it's new information scientifically or new information of the magic or new information in terms of just being practical and sensible. That ability to change is critical for us to be better for the horses. It's a hard sell. And when you're telling people like, this is what, trust me, listen to what I have to say. And then 6 months down the line, say, well, actually, let's look at this from a different perspective. And they're like, hang on a minute, you said that. And I said, yes, but new information's come up.
Yeah.
But that is the nature of science. Science is constantly evolving.
And you've got to change with such, you can't stick to something 50 years old. Yeah.
I see that at work sometimes. I'm like, yeah, that was the procedure like 8 years ago. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
A couple times.
yeah. So how would you say, this is a question for each of you to answer, how do you let science meet the woo, or the woo meet science? It's like spirituality meets science and science meets spirituality.
So situationally, maybe I can give like an example. If, for instance, something happens, like for instance, this morning my mare ran up to me and we've got the best bond ever. She calls to me and runs up to me and just comes in for a kiss. And I go, oh, that's so special, like that's so connected. There's also the side of, where's my breakfast? So it's like I've got to always balance myself and being like, I won't dismiss the fact that there's a beautiful bond there, but I also know that I'm supposed to be giving breakfast right now. So I feel it's a basic explanation, but I feel like the science kind of backs up going, okay, well, let's talk about routine. Let's talk about, it was also time of day and all that stuff. So it's like, don't dismiss the magic, but also know that it's based in a grounded standpoint. Yeah, that's a bit of a hard.
Yeah. For me, I've got the leaning now. Like in the past, it was always the straight down the line. This is the science. Through the experiences I had with Zio, the little orphan zebra, and Sangoma, the wild horse that I trained, those experiences lent me to believe the connection first and then look at the motivators that might be scientific and, quell the variables afterwards. Because we're very quick to say, oh no, it's all science. But science is you come up with a hypothesis and you test it. So my leaning now is my hypothesis is connection is ultimate and all-encompassing. And then I check variables to see if there's other things at play.
Yeah. So I think the important thing, like with that, is when you have like such a science background and you literally tear apart the magic, you go an order. And it's like you completely take away from the soulful bond that's there. So I think what Gareth's talking about is like, okay, it's the soulful bond, and then let's assess.
Yeah. And the main reason I assess is because sometimes we tell ourselves stories to justify things that we want, to reinforce our paradigm of the world. That's what I don't want to do. I want to always make it about considering the horse first. And from that point of view, we do need to measure the magic a little.
Yeah.
The question coming up for me is, Gareth, how would you help someone identify when it's a story coming from them as opposed to what's actually happening?
So that is the absolute value of the science, it's not even, I love peer-reviewed studies. We don't have peer-reviewed studies on most of the stuff, but just a scientific brain of saying, what could be the other explanations? So things like Sue Dyson's pain face scales. Those things are critical. Like, am I looking at something that's is my horse more willing because they like it, or is my horse more willing because there's a threat of pain? Just to always question that, oh, this is what my horse wants. And you need to question yourself. Is this being colored by my own desires?
Yeah.
And that's where you bring in the science and say, okay, let's measure pain face. Let's look at some peer-reviewed studies and see how much pain is being experienced by whatever you're doing at the time, or how much discomfort, or the lack of species appropriate needs being met, whatever it is. You can use those things to measure intuition. I need people to be more intuitive. Like, on a daily basis, my lessons, I need people to follow their intuition more. I can teach people to a certain degree. I don't know their horses as well as they do. I might know the science more, but I don't know the individual horse more. So I need people to develop intuition. But I don't know what they call in the UK. In the US, they call them teeter-totters. In South Africa, we call them seesaws. Yeah, the playground tool.
Seesaw.
Seesaw,
Yeah.
And you got a whole bunch of people that have got way too much intuition and not enough tuition. And then it swings the other way, where it's all tuition and no intuition. And we need to come to that middle ground.
Can I touch on that as well?
Yeah.
Because there's a classic example which we see often. Oh, my horse doesn't want to ride. You see, I walk up to my horse and he walks away. He doesn't want to ride. So therein lies okay, well, could be true, but there's a reason your horse is walking away from you. There's a reason why, so you've got to assess everything. Like, how do you walk up to your horse? How do you call to your horse? What is there any kind of physiological pain associated with the saddle, with the rider? Is the rider, there's so many questions at play, not just, oh, my horse doesn't want to ride, so I'm just going to let it run into the distance.
Yeah. So you believe it at that. So I mean, it's valuable feedback, and people take it as an absolute. I struggle with the term consent, and I like the term willing, because it's, again, I struggle with applying human concepts to an animal. But like in Talya's example, when a horse walks away, we've got to figure out why they're unwilling, and make sure that what we're doing when they walk away doesn't reinforce the behavior and make it worse. Because
so you're just pushing them away at the end of the day even more.
Willingness and connection is fantastic, but it doesn't supersede behavioral science. So I talk about it as teaching them, though. It's great that people are at last considering a horse when they say, I'm not there. But how you deal with it might very well teach an entrenched no down the line.
Yeah. And then, of course, you'll get people that are wanting to argue at that point. So they'll go, yeah, but not all horses should be ridden. Like, how can you speak about connection when you just want to ride a horse and it's not natural for humans to ride? There's all of those conversations that come up because they have and they will. And the thing is, yes, you don't have to ride your horses. I've got horses I don't particularly ride, and there's reasons for it. But it's not, and it's also on the same point, it's not going, you will ride, like I will force you to want to ride. It's not saying that at all. It's just understanding the motivation behind the behavior.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of willingness instead of connection. I hadn't come across that before. So I think I'll use that going forward.
Look, willingness is a foundation of connection, but it's just that the consent thing, I think with such a sensitive word, it can put us into a position where we project things because anyone that's got trauma, which is most of us, has had some level of consent being withdrawn. And then when we use that big emotive word, I want people to be more considerate of their horses, but sometimes their projection goes beyond what the horse actually needs.
Mm. I think as well, a thought that came up is, well, can a horse even give consent? Do they understand what consent is?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But if they're willing to be in your space, and if for example, you're asking, okay, can I saddle you up today? Well, if they're willing to stay there with you, then
Yeah.
you can put the saddle on. But come to think of it, they don't have the capacity in their brain to be like, okay, yeah, I give consent or I don't give consent.
Yeah. What they can express is that doesn't feel good right now. And
Mm.
when they say that, it's okay. What would make them not feel good about it? Can I make you feel better about it? If we put that into consent terms, there's a little bit of an ick there. If we said it, why are you not willing? Can I help you through it? It doesn't have that same level of ick. For want of a better word, the highly complex word of ick.
So science. Ticky.
And I think the idea of asking them, are you willing? And then seeing, okay, they're not willing now, but maybe we can help them become willing in time.
Yeah.
Like Zirconia at the moment, some days she's totally willing to go on a walk with me. But that's the minority of times. The other times I ask the question, do you want to go for a walk? We'll only get as far as the end of the land. Like, so if we're on the road and the field ends a beam that point, she won't go further than that. And she's just like, no.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And sometimes I sit with that no and I'm like, okay, well, can we shift the no into a yes today? Or are we just staying with the no?
Yeah.
And it's
ask
that
the question-
unwillingness to go. Yeah.
Ask the question of what is the reason for the no? What is the emotion behind the no? And there's always a motivator, and it's normally emotion. So I mean, sometimes it's a belly that says more food, more grass, and I would rather not be out walking, or the temperature's a bit high, and I would rather not put in the energy. So I think that is that consideration of what is the motivator behind the no is critical to build a deeper relationship and get a yes more often, because it's that attunement thing that Warwick Schuller talks about. You're seeing that they're saying no, and you're letting them be seen and understood, and try and work through it. Maybe get to a point of, can you give me another step? And then, well, that's fantastic. Let's go home. When that extra step, then it's time to go home and work on the variables. Maybe it's the time of day thing. Maybe it's something that's going on in the herd. But whatever it is, just us thinking about it and considering them lets them feel seen.
And also safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because for her, I feel like it's really a I don't feel safe kind of feeling that comes up. And I said to her last time, I said, you'll always be safe with me. Like, you're not gonna be safe.
Yeah. And the only way she gets to learn that is going through hell and back with you. But we don't need to drag them all the way through hell and back in one session, because from a science point of view, if you make them, they're going to tip over past threshold and they don't learn anything from it. So
no,
highly stressed in that.
It's not even just about force or domination. It's actually unproductive from a science point of view.
Yeah. I mean, it's like training a muscle. You don't want to overwork the muscle and be completely dead the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll never want to run again.
You just want to just stretch it a little bit, or like, if you're weight training, tear it a little bit, but not extensively, so that you're completely injured and unable to
out
move.
of commission.
Yeah, it's a nice analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else coming up for you right now?
Nothing off the top of my head. So I mentioned a little bit about Zio and Sangoma. Talya and I have just been not getting much sleep working on my book. I am not very technologically sound, so I wrote a book in Notepad, and Talya and my mom edited it. And so we're going to be releasing a book on those stories as well. So
That's very exciting.
all the magical stuff that happened with Zara and Zio. I don't know if you followed that story at all.
I did, because I listened to your podcast with Warwick.
Cool.
It must have been a year plus, well, definitely over a year ago, because I knew of you when I went to Birmingham. And I was just like, wow, that's incredible. And then obviously I saw you at Birmingham and I saw the picture of Zio and I was like, that's so cool. So yeah, because I don't think I'd seen a picture of her, because obviously I listened to the podcast and you don't see the picture that goes with that. And then I saw the whole picture and yeah.
And put a
this is
face to a
beautiful.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a uncomfortable working out where I was reluctant to write about it. But when I initially shared about it, wrote about it on Facebook, people were like, oh, you've got to write a book. And I'm like, I didn't see a reason for writing the book. And since then, life has changed dramatically. I've had some health issues that mean I don't travel for clinics anymore. And a lot of my work has shifted to online. And that transition is an economic marathon. It's tricky. But what it has had me fight with internally is the hero complex thing that I think all horsemen go through. You see a horse and you literally feel what they're going through when they are troubled, because I get called in mostly for troubled horses. And you understand that there's no bad horses, but everyone talks about it as a horse problem or whatever. And you get this thing that you've got to save it. You've got to change the industry. And for 20 years, that change in the industry is me being working 18-hour days, airplanes and car rides and bus rides and train rides, trying to get out there and help as many horses as possible. And the shift for me when I was working, I begrudgingly started working on the book and putting it together. And it was always a thing of, well, I can't make it flowery. I can't make it flow. I can't make the grief that started it all and the things that I went through sound pretty or poetic. And one of the things that being ill gave me was thinking, well, hang on, maybe it doesn't need to be. We're both musicians as well, and I lean towards the alternative rock grunge thing. And the way I've come to peace with putting myself out there and writing is I'm thinking of this book as the literary form of grunge music. It's raw, it's messy, sometimes a little out of tune, but it expresses what I went through.
Yeah. I'm evolving myself as a writer as well. And I think since I've started following you, I've seen, actually now you mentioned the book, I'm like, oh yeah, your posts have got a lot more writer based and writer styled. And I think, yeah, it's easy for us to project a certain standard onto writing, and being like, it has to be like this or it has to be like that. But yeah, for me, I literally, like, I've known for years I'm good at writing, but I wrote one piece years ago and I thought it was the best piece of writing I'd ever done. And I was only 22, but I was like, wow, this is really good. And then anytime I tried after that, I was just like, no, it's not as good as that one. It's not as good as that. It's not as good as that. And then I worked with Tanya Kindersley about a year ago. And we didn't do many lessons, like a couple of lessons. Yeah. And then I got quite busy. So it's like, okay, no more lessons. But it was enough to just give me that push. And I thought, you know what, I'll get Substack, I'll just write, and I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to do nothing. I just was like, put a timer on, write, and I'm not allowed to touch it, and just see what came out. And then obviously now it's evolving a bit more into actual pieces about certain topics. But it's amazing how if you can let go of that standard and just write, then it's much more true to who you are as well.
Yeah, I've started to wear typos as a badge of honor because it's proof that it's not it. and
Exactly.
Just me from a personal point of view, we were talking about connection, and we need more human connection, and social media is a fantastic platform for it. What I look for from social media is a way to connect with my tribe, because we are the weirdos. We're the weirdos, and we're in the minority, and it makes that minority a lot bigger when we're looking on a global scale. So I love finding the pieces that have got the typos, and like if I have to think a little harder about what a sentence means, like that was definitely not written by AI. And I'm great with that. And I think, the minute I read that, even if it's a viewpoint that I might not agree with, it's like, well, it's real, and I relate to that.
Yeah, and if we can protect that integrity of our writing, then that's really important, I think, in the next few years to come. There's something that came up. What was it? No, it's gone. I read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, and you know, when she talks about the ideas, like, anyway, it's gone now. Bye.
Someone else would do it.
Yeah. But social media though. I used to have a really bad relationship with social media, and I actually went into the summit in Birmingham like, oh my gosh, all these people, they're all on social media, and I was really like, by it. But after the summit, I realized, hey, I met these cool people, but I have no way to stay in contact with them or join that community. And so I thought, oh, okay, I'll get back on social media. So I begrudgingly made a Facebook account, and then like you said, it facilitates those connections with people who are like us, and we're all over the world. So
directly.
And I mean, absolutely a shadow to it. And as I'm introverted, and the way Facebook, for example, drives us, you haven't posted in a while, post. And if you're not posting regularly, your reach is dropping, and that pressure sometimes leaves me running scared. And everything's got a shadow, and anything out of balance is toxic. I have my moments where it becomes a huge drain. We can talk as much as you like about what other people think of you is none of your business, but that noise seeps in. And there's days where I'm like, okay, I can't put myself out there today, because you're not in the energetic space of being able to take the criticism that comes from putting yourself out there. And there's nothing wrong with the criticism, but if you're not in the space, you've got to pull back from it. Yeah, it does. It burns you out.
Yeah.
I think a key is always remembering that you don't have to respond or even acknowledge comments. Like I posted a year ago trying to look for a field where I live now, because I was like, I just want a field. It doesn't have to be big, but I just want to be able to set up some plastic poles so I can put a track in, and that's it. Like, no big deal. And people are like, you need 1 acre per horse and blah blah blah, and tracks of this, tracks of that. I was getting completely slammed, not a single positive comment, and I ignored all of them. And then I just said, like, can we just circle back to the fact that all I'm doing is looking for a bit of land to put my horses on, and that's it. Put opinions aside, that's all I'm asking for, human to human. Can we remember that if you were in this situation, you'd want someone to leave at least one helpful comment, and that's all I said. And then I left it. I thought, forget you guys.
Look, I am I have changed my perspective on the negative commenters. Um, first of all, they increase reach. And second of all, they often bring up, like when I post an educational article, they bring up the stuff that my echo chamber doesn't. And those people in the echo chamber will hear it from outside influencers and all those people offering unsolicited advice. At least when those negative commenters come in, I get to answer all that stuff, and the echo chamber to get to see a different perspective. Of course, it gets frustrating sometimes when you have people circular reasoning or the tradition. But this is what, I won't mention any societies, but this is what the education authorities say, and that's it. That is law. You can't necessarily argue with it. You can give your perspective, and hopefully it gives people that face, like I said, we're in the minority. So when you have people around the world where they're the only ones at the yard maybe thinking about a different way, gives them something to say when they get criticized and put in, like, cornered by the naysayers.
Mm. Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And for me as well, it's like I think your mindset is good as well. So I tend to look at negative comments as, oh, this is an opportunity for me to practice nonviolent communication. Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, my first would be a violent
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're certain, and that is a great attitude. That is what I preach. There's days that I can't practice what I preach, and those are the days that yeah. And I think it's probably close on 10 days now. Like, I've pulled back because the other thing is I'm still teaching in person in a small area here, and you see a lot of that negativity in person, and that depletes my ability to maintain that nonviolent communication online. So I know, okay, I'm not going to maintain my Zen online today, so I won't post online.
Yeah. Maintain my zen. Yeah. Or just go chill with the horses for a bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't get enough of that.
Yeah.
No. I love sitting with them and zenning. I'm like, just harness the zen of the horses.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Like, if I'm ever feeling stressed, because I'm away from them at the moment, I only see them every 2 weeks. If I'm ever feeling stressed, I have plenty of videos on my phone of them just going, I'm snoozing. So I just watch that and I'm like, okay, harness their zen.
That's awesome.
Have you ever done a video call with your horses while they've been away?
No.
So I've done that quite a bit when I was traveling extensively, and like, I'm a recovering introvert, and I used to have to go out and teach these massive clinics, and I get overwhelmed. Talya's like, "Do you want to do a video call with the horses?" And it just used to bring me down.
Yeah.
I remember I did have a camera set up in their old home, because I was in a situation where essentially I couldn't have anyone take care of them for 3 days, and they were just on their own, which you think, oh, that's really bad. I thought, okay, I'm going to have 3 days of muck to clean up. But I just filled all my hay nets, like max, put all 20, I have 21 hay nets. I put them all out, and I just had the camera. It's so cool because you could actually call them, and I went, Fion, and he started like looking for me.
Oh, man.
Oh, shame.
And I thought, that's really mean. Like, I said I should stop because he was just like, where is she? Where's she gone? You know.
I knew she was
cute.
omnipotent.
Yeah. She turned into a camera. How do we get her out of the thing?
She's stuck in there. No.
But that's an interesting thing, though. Like, so you're leaving them for 3 days, and people think that's terrible. I think we need to change our perspective on some of these things. So, like, we're not going to see the entire industry of stable yards and liveries change what's been bringing them in money for the last however many years, hundreds of years. we need to start thinking out the box. And if people don't want to have their horses stalled for excessive periods of time in areas that there's no space, we need to start considering that maybe a pasture beyond city limits where the horses can be horses for a week at a time and you get to be with them one day a week for the whole day is better for them than locking them up so we get to see them for a few minutes every day. I think we do need to change the perspective of what is good stewardship, because
Good for
Yeah.
you.
it's horse-centered right now. I mean, it's human-centered instead of horse-centered.
Human-centered,
And
yeah.
you know, whenever I bring this up, people, oh, but what about the management side? Yeah, the management, they've got to be groomed. If it's a
They
big enough
don't gotta
space,
be groomed.
they don't have to
Yeah.
be groomed too much. They're not going to have
No.
things like rain skull build up because it's a tiny little mud patch that you're just recycling bacteria. Give them a shelter, give them everything that they need, and leave them be. Go visit them once a week.
Mm.
That happier horse that doesn't have
Yeah.
all the social pathologies that come with the way we keep them now.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned to do with lack of space, because in the Netherlands it's a tiny country, right? We don't have space there. And I noticed, I met Fion in 2020, and there was like maybe 1 or 2 track systems around. And then now there's like loads, because we don't have the space there, but people want horses, and actually you can then keep more horses on a smaller land because
Yeah.
you've got the track there. So there's that as well to consider. And yeah, with the brushing, like I don't brush my horses.
You know,
And people are like, oh, do they need brushing? Or you can brush them if you like, but I don't. So
yeah.
feel free to, unless like Morgan's mane is so knotty that it's almost dreadlocks, then I'm like, okay, I'll give it a brush, because she sometimes gets it knotted. But yeah, Fion, I mean, his tail is dreadlocks, like, but that's
isn't it
fine,
funny?
you know.
He's a
Like,
rasta.
it's funny that people will.
He is.
I mean, and when I was in the UK for clinics, I posted photos and stuff working with horses that just came straight out the field. They were muddy and they were covered in mud, and people came after the owners as if it was a welfare concern. But they're happy to lock them in a stable to keep them clean. That's where I think we need to have. So
Kind of psychotic.
yeah, we
Yeah.
we need to shift that perception, and shifting that perception is talking about it kindly. Holding the big stick and telling people how bad they are
Isn't
is
gonna
far
work.
less
No.
productive than saying, "Hey, have you ever thought that maybe what do you think horses did in the wild? They got muddy and
Mm.
they moved
Wow.
around." But like what you're talking about in terms of the track systems, it's a hard sell to have stable yards changed to a track system.
Mm.
But that's where people can take their power back. And if 5 or 6 people get together and rent their piece of land, like you're talking about, and put in a track system, and you're probably going to get it cheaper, even if you did that and hired someone to manage the property for you, than what you're paying in stabling.
Yeah.
In terms of the prices of hay, having to muck out, etc.
Because stabling is so much work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
'Cause I live
think
on a livery yard that
Yeah.
is, but they live out, but they also have stables, and they still have to muck out the fields and muck out the stables. And I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
lot of work. And they have
Mm.
staff who does it, which is, yeah, sure, okay. But that drives the costs up still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we need to start getting flexible, and rather than trying to wait for the industry overall to change, we need to make our little parallel industry
Yeah.
where we can show that it can be done by example, rather than shouting at them for doing it wrong.
But I think that's what I love about social media as well. Is like there's so many track system accounts now out there,
Yeah.
and they look beautiful as well. Like people get these drone shots, and you're just like, wow, this is so cool. And
Yeah.
it's the same with even other animals. If you think how we've changed the way we have guinea pigs now, the way we have hamsters, the way we have rabbits. Like, our animal husbandry has shifted, and I would say that is thanks to social media.
Yeah. Like the pig thing. I love pigs, and pigs are now raised as pasture animals rather than sty animals, because everyone thinks pigs are disgusting and dirty.
They're
They
really
didn't have a
clean.
choice in
They're
this.
actually really clean.
Yeah.
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 They're amazing. And I used to have chickens as well. I miss them. They were also really hilarious. But then there's a really good book. I think it's Healthy Pastures, Healthy Horses, something like that. And it actually explains the benefit of chickens to horses.
Yeah.
As well as other species of animals. So I think it's so enriching to also, if you can, bring in other species so that the horses get the enrichment from that as well.
Yeah, sustainable farming is not about monoculture or monospecies. It's got to be an interaction. Everything, all the way down to the parasite load, is managed by having a variation of species around, and including species of grass and space. That we've been sold this lie that in order to feed this burgeoning population, we have to have massive commercial monoculture farming. That lie was just to take us off our land. It's take us away from our food source. There's no truth to it. We can support communities with sustainable subsistence farming.
Yeah. I think there's one thing I love about the horses as well, is they've reconnected me to the land and wanting to be a steward of the land as much as I am of the horses. And like my friends at where my horses used to live, they planted pumpkins and they grew pumpkins, and then they had a roast dinner with the pumpkins that they grew, and they were so excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I strongly believe that horses have a sense of purpose about teaching us to reconnect. I think they can see how separated we are, and it means something to them to help us reconnect to them, to each other, and to ourselves.
So that was actually one of your questions for me. Your question was, what gifts have you received from your horses that keep showing up for you? And that's
Gareth, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah.
What was the question? I thought it was Talya.
So Talya has the questions, you don't. So yeah, well, I was thinking, should we bring them up now? And then you just did, Talya, so that's really cool. So Gareth, I'll ask Gareth the questions, and Talya, you can give your answer because you already have thought about it. So what gifts have you received from horses that keep showing up for you, Gareth?
For me, going through personal trauma, horses gave me a non-judgmental ear. They heard me, they saw me. We have an image of ourselves, and we all kind of project that we think we're great, but deep down inside, we secretly think we're horrible people. My experiences with horses, and when I didn't listen enough to horses, to zebra and springbok and all sorts of other animals, that they chose to be with me when it was never coerced and not forced through dominance. It gave me back my self-worth.
Yeah, so I felt that. So the main gifts I've received from horses has very much been the teaching of presence, the teaching of the present moment, and that because in the present moment there's always a sense of peace regardless of what's going on in your life. There's always a state of peace, and there's been, I've got a photo of it. So Rio is one of our horses as well. And in this photo, I was very emotional on a day, and Zio comes, so Rio wraps me in a hug, and then Zio's hugging me on the other side, and I'm just in the sandwich of hug. And what that's really taught me is, with all of my horses, but primarily, well, yeah, all of my horses, but like there'll be a time where Capri, my mare, will look at me and I'll be like in the human world, I'm like, I'm totally okay, everything's fine, da, 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 da. And it's like I'm broken inside. There's been stages I've been absolutely flawed. And people are like, oh, you already hold it together perfectly. And my mare will take one look at me and she'll be like, you're not okay, are you? She'll ask, she'll like communicate that question. She'll be like, but that's okay because I'm here, So there's this completely like touching on your non-judgmental. There's this umbrella of love that's not like, let me tell you how you should live your life or let me tell you what decisions you need to make. Where the human side of that unconditional love is telling you how to do things better. And when you're not okay, you don't want to hear that. You want to just be like, just leave me alone, just hug me,
Yeah.
So
Like make it more somatic.
Yeah. So I feel like horses, the biggest gift that they've been able to give me is pure acceptance. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a full face of makeup. You don't have to look your best. You can be slightly, whatever. You can be whatever, and you're still appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one and resonate with it.
Yeah.
And it's the feeling of being enough as well. Like, you're always enough to them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be more than you are.
Yeah.
The food's not always enough, apparently.
Yeah.
No. Oh, God. Theon is terrible. Like,
this is life.
So I kind of have 3+1 at the moment because my guys live with our family pony Daisy, and like Daisy and Zirconia are a little bit older. They have like a more mash based food because they have this amazing senior mash that smells like the best food ever. And then Theon has this Sainfoin pellets with this like how do you say fiber mix stuff, and he just guzzles it down like it's not normal. And then he's just like, where can I have more, please? There's more. And I've had it where I've been there all day, and like I fed them in the morning when I first got there, and then my mum will come in the evening to just hang out with me a bit, and then she'll be like, oh, did you give them their food already? I'm like, yes, Mum. So, oh, well, they're acting like they've not had their food yet.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they have, I can assure you.
Yeah. Very funny.
It does make me laugh when they act like they've never been fed, and I'm like, yeah, but I feed you all the time. It's the same with my cat. She's always like, tuna, please, tuna, please. And I'm like, I gave you tuna 5 minutes ago. I don't starve you.
Live in the now, woman.
Yeah.
Present.
Yeah, we're present. Didn't you know that? So Gareth, this is for you first again. What message do you want to send out into the horse world about horses?
They're not spooky and unpredictable, and they're not out to get us. I think one of the biggest misunderstandings is that it is normal for horses to be spooky and hyperreactive, and that they're unpredictable, and we just have to accept the fact that if you ride, by the time you're 30, you buy shares in the pharmaceutical companies that make ibuprofen because you're using a lot of it. It doesn't have to be. I believe that there are kids that start riding today at, let's say, 4 or 5, that maybe their goals aren't Olympic show jumping, but they just want to ride and enjoy horses, and they'll ride their whole lives and enjoy horses. Maybe by the time they hit 95 and on their deathbed, they've never fallen off their horse, because we are now more aware. We understand the motivations that cause the dangerous situations, and we're willing to get off and let the horse have their moments, and understand that it's not just to give us a middle finger, that there's always a justified motivation behind those actions, and that there are things we can do about it.
Mm. I think, yeah, maybe it's a bit judgmental, I'm not sure, but I almost feel like you shouldn't find yourself in a situation where you're being bucked off your horse and you fall off your horse,
Yeah.
because if you're aware enough and taking care of yourself and them from a nervous system perspective, you should never be over threshold to that extent.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't know if
And,
that's
and
yeah.
look, and look, I've made mistakes, and I make mistakes. The last time I train, I counsel troubled horses, and I've trained for a long time. I've developed young horses, and that's been the bulk of my work. And it's been 4 years since I've fallen off a horse. And people are like, how's that possible? Because I won't get on them if they're unsafe. And
Mm.
I get the flack. I was like, oh, don't use that guy. He's scared of the horses. I'm not scared.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, actually, no. I'm 100%.
You're aware.
I'm 100% scared of pushing a horse past threshold.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Mm.
not just for my sake, for theirs as well. So it happens. It's not that it never happens. And the fact that I am on horses 8 to 10 hours a day increases how much it happens. But as we learn more about the signs of them being stressed out and how to help them regulate themselves, and how we can, as a partnership or friendship, co-regulate, that percentage of dangerous situations will drastically reduce.
100%. I think the last time I fell off a horse was about 2 years ago, and it was because the horse didn't do anything wrong. It was zirconia, and I got off to dismount, and I literally just fell off. I'm not sure how. And I remember she just looked down at me like, oh, okay.
What happened?
Why are you there?
Why are you down there? Oh, weird.
It's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, no.
How about yourself, Talya?
So I'm actually just thinking about so I have fallen far too many times over my own feet
Without horses.
without even horses
Oh.
involved. So it's hilarious. Like recently we've been walking horses down like pretty much a really steep hill and up a really steep hill. And Miss Coords over here has fallen down numerous times, and these poor horses, they stop and they look at me and they're like, you need 4 feet, my friend. I'm like, I know.
2 legs is not cutting it. Yeah.
No, go back to the 8 times. Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
I mean, okay, on that note, I fractured my arm tripping over my own feet.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
So how did that happen? How did you do that?
so I was in the car park at work, and it was an underground lit car park, and I got out my car. I was walking in, out of the car park, and it was a concrete floor, and I literally just stumbled.
Oh,
And then I
shit.
fell onto my outstretched hand. It's literally called a fosh. That's the term for it. And then the impact with the concrete just shattered my elbow. And people said to me, well, because it was in February, and people were like, oh, did you fall? Was it icy? Was it dark? I said, no. It was just an underground lit car park. Like nothing more
Ooh.
extravagant than that.
But ouch.
So
My God.
yeah, and then I had to phone work, and I was like, yeah, I can't go to work today because I was like, I think I've broken my arm. And they were like, do you know where the doctor is? I was like, yes.
Man.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Gosh,
No, so don't go doing that. Cannot recommend.
No, I won't. Thank you. I've got mountains to fall down. You see, I don't need to do the car park thing.
You don't need a flat car park, no.
Yeah, no. But sorry, to answer your question, what message do you want to send out into the horse world about horses? I would say something like, horses are family, treat them like it.
Mm.
So And
Yeah.
there's a bit of a story behind that. Like, you often hear people, and I've had this before as well, people are like, well, you haven't had a holiday in 4 years and you haven't seen this person and that person, this person. Like, are you even still part of the social group or the whatever? And you get a lot of judgment for not seeing who you're supposed to be seeing all the time. And it comes down to, well, they're my children, they're my family. So I'm not just going to get like, oh, but why don't you get a sitter? I'm not just going to get a random person in to look after my family who I haven't vetted. I have no idea who they are. And do they even know how to horse?
Mm.
And it's the same thing. It's like, if you fall on hard times, people are very quick to go sell a horse. And I'm like, well, sell your child.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. And I don't feel it's any different, to be honest. So yeah, that's about the only time. Actually, I would never consider selling a horse, but if someone else sold their child, I'd be like, hey, see?
Yeah.
That's cool slavery.
It's funny. It's funny you
slavery.
say that. I was just thinking like, oh, I need to write my will, blah blah blah, and because it's important to do. So, and then I was like, yeah, actually, who do I leave my horses to? Like, what happens? So I asked a friend, like the other day. I said, out of anyone, I'd trust you to find them good homes if I passed away, either together or apart. But you're someone I completely trust with that decision. So yeah, I agree. And it's also scary. Like I've had to, because I only see them every 2 weeks, I've had to find people to look after my horses in the place of me. And that was hard. I was really felt like I was putting myself out there because I was like,
Yeah.
we're not traditional folk. Don't expect to ride, blah, 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 blah. They live like this. This happens. This is how it is. We listen to them and what they're saying. But luckily I found two who meet them where they're at and see them that way. So that's
Good.
a relief. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very scary to let someone else in to take care of your horses.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you do need a bit of extra help.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, we're reaching that point now where it's like, we realize how many times we've hit burnout and the importance of actually taking a break. So, we
yeah.
are obviously getting to the point of being like, okay, we trust this person to do this task. In the past, it was Gareth's daughter,
Mm.
but she's moved far away at the moment. So until we can get her here, we have to find like another awesome person
And train them up, yeah.
and train them up. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because they need to be trained up for
they
sure.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I had it last year after Birmingham. I was like, do you know what? Actually, I realized I came back home and I was like, I'm going through a lot right now and I can't handle this on my own at this moment in time. So I managed to find someone who was fantastic. So yeah, I think if you're feeling, again, it's the intuition. If you're feeling that need of, hey, it's too much for me right now.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to like say, hey, I need help with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. No, for sure. 100%.
And I think the right person comes along when you set that intention as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next question is, if your horse or horses in your cases were a part of this conversation right now, what do you feel they would say about you?
Oof. I like to think they all would say that I'm honest, which doesn't always mean that I am level. And, when we talk about ethical horsemanship and an ethical approach, and the stuff that I write and that I share and I try and teach, I think sometimes people think I never get it wrong. And I think anyone that says that they never get it wrong is lying. Probably in the last week, I've called my horse a few names, and they don't deserve it. And it's all got justified motivations, and me losing my temper with them doesn't make any sense. But they forgive me. So that makes me think that they actually appreciate the realness of it. even if they don't appreciate the bad names. But I think the two horses that have been with me the longest will say that I've been consistent in being there with them and showed up for them and consider them in every situation. The two youngest, I think, probably think, they might even think I have God status, but they just haven't. They haven't been through the learning phases that the older horses have, so they'll do some more of my mistakes. So they'll say probably the kindest things about me because I've kind of got a handle of things a little bit better than the older two, and yeah, I think I think the three newest additions, which technically none of them are horses, we've got situations where people had to move to places, and
We've inherited three.
we've inherited horses. Those that we've inherited, I think, will have a great appreciation for seeing things a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours?
And yourself, Talya?
This is a very hard question for me. I have no idea at this point. What do you say about you? I feel like they would say that I see you trying, because there's times where it's just like you feel like you try, but it's just not good enough. And then you feel like, then you feel like the worst horse parent on the planet when you're really not. And you feel like you haven't given enough time in, but you don't have the capacity to do it. You spoke about the capacity, like when you actually need assistance, you can't just give your all into everything. And I feel like naturally I give so much of myself in every area of life constantly that when I have like a bit of a wobble, at least I'm seen in that moment. So I think what my horses would say to me in the moment is like, I see you trying, So then I appreciate that you're trying. So you're showing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a big one. Specifically, I speak about my mare a lot because I feel like she's a horse version of me. We're so connected. And with her, she's had a lot of letdown in her life. She was also started really badly. She's had a lot of trauma before she got to Gareth. And yeah, I mean, she's had a hell of a life and a lot of loss in her life as well. And what I always get from her, like we've moved so many times together, and the one specific move, the very first move, she was like, "This is where Talya leaves me," and like I got that very clear. And when she saw me the next morning show up at a new place with her, she was like, she stayed. So there's always this like, she stayed. And I feel like with her, she has a lot of appreciation for me never leaving. And I've made that promise to her. I'll never leave her. And it's true. I never will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that with Zirconia as well. Like when I moved to the UK, she basically had an emotional outburst where she attacked Fion. And I sort of explored that for her, and it was really like I was gone, and I think she felt I'd left her, and because I was her anchor, I was the first person who really saw her and gave space to that and let her explore that. And then she's like, she's gone. And actually, it was one of my helpers was very sweet, and she said, I'll do the medicine, like, because she needed antibiotics twice a day for a week because she had some pretty bad cuts from her legs. And she was like, I'll give her the antibiotics and blah, blah, blah. And just by her doing that, she was like, oh, they're taking care of me too.
Yeah.
And then she started to feel much better about the whole thing. And they've now got quite a nice relationship because she showed up for her in that way. So, yeah.
She's got two
it's
moms.
empowering. Yeah, she's got 2 people taking care of her now who see her for how she is, which is nice.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's very sweet.
Yeah. She's very cool. This next question comes because for me music is very emotive. Like people ask, "Oh, what's your favorite artist?" I'm like, I don't really have one because it's more a memory is attached in certain tracks or songs.
Yeah.
So for you, what music reminds you of your horses, or even Zio as well?
Yeah. Sure. So Dream Hunter, I've always said his soundtrack is actually a South African artist called Goldfish. The song called I've Got a Million Views because he's probably the most photographed horse in South Africa. And then his son also gave a Goldfish song, which was Moonwalk Away, because he was just so smooth. And in terms of songs that remind me of my other horses, sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so with Bella, it's actually one of our songs. So we've got a project called The Electric Hat Stands, which has got a story behind it. But there's a song that I wrote called Beautiful Girl. And that song really it connects Bella and I quite deeply.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Talya?
So I've got quite a list. So the
Love it.
first one that came, well, actually, I had two like combined. Anyway, I've got three songs. One is from Sacred Spirit because it's a very spiritual, meditative kind of playlist. And then there's obviously the Last of the Mohicans, which it just gets my heart every time. So there's actually 4 options. Then another one is actually, so who reminds me, so Capri, my mare, as well as her baby, Ray, who was my everything. Unfortunately, he passed away. But yeah, so the song that reminds me the most of them is Cover Me in Sunshine by Pink.
Oh.
Makes me happy every time, and they were both very much and are very much like sunshine to me. And it's that feeling of feeling warm and loved and just sunshine, like rainbows and sunshines of everything. And when Capri was pregnant, I actually sang, to calm Capri down in general, I would sing Cover Me in Sunshine and I'll play with her hair. And then when she fell pregnant, I would sing to Ray in her belly, Cover Me in Sunshine. And then now it's become like the song with them. And yeah, it's just a very, very special song. And then the next one, the next one is also one of ours. It's called Feathers. And Feathers was actually originally written from a dream I had. It was actually just before I moved, and I had met Gareth at the time, but what happened in the dream was I was in a really horrible situation in my life, and I felt really stuck and alone. And in the dream, this Pegasus actually came down to me, and there was like this really dark, well, no, it was dark, cloudy, like the gray clouds when a thunderstorm's about to happen. It was like that. And this Pegasus came down and these feathers started to grow, and the feathers on the ground turned into wings. And then this Pegasus just picked me up and we went out and away. And I like the feeling of flying and being connected with that horse that pretty much saved me, was everything. So, if you listen to the lyrics, it has a very different meaning when you understand why it was written. So that
Yeah.
reminds me of all of my horses.
Where can people find your music, actually?
on
To then
all
listen to
streaming
it.
platforms, but primarily, all streaming
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah, so it's the Electric Hats fans on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Music, iTunes. We say Spotify quietly because we get less money there.
SPOT.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but on that note, like, not just necessarily on songs that remind us of our horses, but like when I'm having days of the horses that I've lost, Joe Ellis, if you look up on YouTube, Joe Ellis wrote a song called I Dream of Horses. If you've ever lost a horse and you're having a day, look up that song.
It's so beautiful, but it makes you cry.
Yeah, you'll cry, but you'll come out feeling better after.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful song ever, I would say.
When you say when you're having a day, how often does that happen, and how intense is it for you
Sure.
with the horse
fairly regularly.
losing your horse? Yeah.
You know, the thing is, I don't think it's just the loss. And when you lose any loved one, you've got grief. And for me personally, like I've had experiences that make you feel connected to everything that's been and will be. The days that when you have those days, it's when you lose connection to that understanding that you're connected all the time. And those are the days that I personally feel you need to feel that grief to take you back to that space. And I'm a big one for finding things that take you back there. And then when you come out of it, you remember we're still connected, even though they're not here.
I like to say, as long as you give thought to them or a memory comes up, they're still alive because they're still with you.
Yeah.
I started crying randomly the other day. I had a Shetland as a child, and he died in 2023, I think. I was actually really lucky. I was in the UK at the time. So I was there the day he passed away, which was amazing because I can't say the same for my childhood cat, unfortunately. But I was upstairs painting the other day, and I just randomly started crying about Bumble is his name. And I thought, wow, I haven't cried for him in a long, long time. But I think it was almost this feeling of like, because Daisy is with Fionzir and Morgan, it was kind of like the beauty, because Bumble is buried on that land, and it was like the beauty of them living there now as my adulthood equine friends, and he's there too. So it's just feeling that connection, I think.
Yeah.
That's very
I couldn't remember
and Daisy will now. Sorry, go on.
Yes, just your perspective on it reminds me of a quote that I can't remember who said it, but it's you live eternally until the last time someone said thinks your name.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I lost a colleague not so long ago, and again, sometimes I have these little moments where I just think about him, and I'm like, as long as we're remembering and thinking of them, then they're still alive. Yeah.
And everyone is worth the tears. And I don't think it's terrible. Like, the don't be sad thing, I don't get. It's a disconnect. We've got to feel it sometimes.
But also, like when you lose someone, regardless of animal, human, whatever, when you lose someone, you lose a piece of yourself too. And it's okay to grieve that part of yourself too, because you'll never be the same again. So you've got to recreate something, somewhat of a phoenix, and become a new version of something, you know? So, yeah.
I love the phoenix imagery for that. That's really good. Yeah. I think this actually leads nicely on to ask you both where or what makes you feel wild.
Makes me feel?
Wild.
Wild.
Wild. Or
Like wild, like a tiger.
Or whatever it means. So I'll explain the background to the question.
Yes.
So I read the book Women Who Runs with Wolves, and they talk about the wild female archetype. And this question came to me actually when I was viewing this house to rent, because up behind me are the Mendip Hills. And I remember the first time I came to the Mendip Hills was in 2018. And I was watching this like rain shower blow across the Somerset levels, which is to the south. And I just remember, the wind comes off sort of off the Atlantic up the Bristol Channel. And I remember just feeling really wild. I was like, wow, this is so, wild, because I was living in a city at the time. So it was that moment of reconnecting with nature. And then when I came up here again, when I viewed the house was the second time I visited the Mendips. And again, I had that feeling of, this is the wild woman, so to speak. Like, I just feel her here. So for me, that's my answer to that question, essentially.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So for me, it's ever since I was a little kid, like, I felt like an outside observer to other people. Like, everyone seemed to know how things work. And I'm always like, okay, is there a memo I'm missing? Like, it's where the instruction manuals, because I don't get it. But I would, at the time living on a farm, I would walk for miles, find a quiet place to sit, and be in an emotional state that animals don't flee from me. And when they start looking at you instead of looking at you and running, and whether it's antelope or monkeys was a big one, and that made me feel wild and part of the world. And like, we talk about it being nature, but like for me, that's always my understanding of the world. Everything else was kind of alien. And then growing up, like, that's become a big thing for me with horses. When I work with horses that have been unhandled or that have been through trauma and don't want to be handled, when you break through and they see, I see you and I see that you won't harm me, that's the thing that makes me feel connected to nature, my innate nature. And what I went through with Zara and Zio, it was probably the epitome of it, where it was a completely wild animal, and it got to a point of, with Zara, a wild zebra entrusting her baby to me, and then all the connections that came with Zio, that really reignited that childhood feeling of being part of something, actually being connected to the world around me.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, when I read your question, so brilliant question. At first, when I read your question, I sat with it for a while and I couldn't really answer it. And the first thing that came to mind was, when I'm with my mare, when we're working or when we're just together, there's this sense of wild, but that wild I've seen and linked as freedom. It's the same word to me in that context. And then it got me thinking as well, like, I've had the most profound friendships with various different species. I've had a springbok friend, I've had an eland friend, I've had a Blessbuck friend, I've had bird friends. I've got a bird friend eagle that flies over and says hi every now and again. And I live for those moments. Like, it's everything to me. And but through, like, it's funny, it's like through all of my interactions with creatures and making sure that they feel heard, I guess. Like, people are gonna think I'm crazy, and that's perfect. Fine, do it. Thank you. But like, it's just that level of acknowledgement, like, hold on, this looks uncomfortable. Can I help you here? And I've often thought of a situation of like, if I'm really struggling and this massive giant goes like, oh, Talya, you're gonna trip over that puddle, beep, beep, boop, and put me down. I'm like, thanks, man. Like, I've had that animation in my head. I'm like, it could be perceived as really helpful. So, so yeah, I mean, where I feel the most wild within myself is when I feel the most whole and complete. And that's always when I'm making friends with animals. Because I don't really care about the chitter chat of humans. Like I had a experience yesterday, which was quite profound for me. We've made friends with a local bird who's in a cage and whatever where we live, and he's the coolest person on the planet, like really. And he got out of his cage, and we're on a massive farm. We have got so many trees around, and and with captive birds, like if they get out, there's a high chance they're never coming back or they're gonna die. And within that, I had this profound amount feeling of relief, which was weird. It was such a strange, but I thought maybe to bring it into conversation because it was an interesting thing to feel. And I was like, okay, well, why am I feeling relief? And I'm like, okay, so us as humans, we obsess and we box and we contain everything. We compartmentalize everything. We label our bloody socks. I mean, everything. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what would it feel like to fly? Okay, so that's a huge feeling of wild and free and whatever. So I was like, listen, if I was a bird in a cage, I would also be like, cheers and go, But the thing is, what I found really interesting is that we've been playing music and like singing to him and interacting with him every single day, that became a level of recall, and he escaped from the lodge, but I'd made friends with him. So throughout the day, I was like, I understood the beauty of being able to be free and fly around. And I had a sense of relief when he got out, because I was like, if I were a bird, I would feel the same. So I felt his excitement almost. And I thought, okay, well, that's that. We lost him, but I'm still going to try because he's my friend. So I went around tree to tree calling him with a recall whistle we've kind of developed. And he called back, and I was like, I found him. And he was at the toppiest tree in the pine forest. And I just sat there for ages with him. And I then later, he didn't come back. So I later was like, well, you look like you're hanging around. And then he took off, and I couldn't find him for a good hour. And now he wasn't responding to my call at all. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go have coffee. I'm going to just center myself again, and I'll come back. And as I came back, I still didn't hear him. He still wasn't answering. But then I whistled his favorite song, and then he called back to me. So he was
Wow.
hanging around me the whole day in the forest, albeit there was tons of space. He could have gone anywhere. He was there with me, and then I brought his cage out, and I like decorated his cage with a branch and put more food and water. And I was just sitting there, and I was playing on repeat his favorite song. And he was just like watching me and dancing along. And he came down the tree to spend time with me, and he flew over my head and went and like whistled, and then landed back in the tree. And he was just watching me, and he wasn't actually ready to come in at all. And long story short, at the end of the day, we managed to get him back, but he wasn't even like phased. Like we could just go, okay, let's go. And, because the son of the lodge owner, well, our friends, he climbed the tree like a pro monkey and just put his hand out like this, and the bird was like, cool, let's go. It was hilarious. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
I found like in those moments it was hilarious because there were people here who don't really know me, and they were working on a project they had going, so I don't really know them either. And they kept turning music up and like looking at me weird because I was now whistling to trees. So they were whistling, and I was like, guys, please stop whistling. That's the wrong whistle. That's not going to call him. Like, stop it. And turn the music down. No, it was hilarious. And they all looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, there's no chance she's going to stay and wait for a bird. Like, it's gone. I'm like, no. I stayed there the whole day talking to my friend.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's moments like that that just, I don't know, they ignite a bit of a spark within me. I love it.
I love that. For me, I always have the dilemma of like, how much do I interfere with quote unquote wild animals?
Yeah.
And I had outside my front door, we have a little drain for the gutter. And it was a couple of weeks ago now, I looked in and there was just a toad in there. And I sort of looked at him, I thought, that looks pretty boring in there, mate. Like,
Mhm.
I thought, oh, what do I do? Because I thought, I mean, maybe he's okay, but I thought that's a bit of a rubbish life,
Yeah.
And I know that down there is like a brook. So I thought, okay, I don't want to contaminate him with my scent. So I got a rubber glove, picked him up, put him in a little Tupperware box. And I was like, dude, okay, we're going to go find you a better life. Because I thought, even if you become someone's dinner tonight, I thought at least you're not in that little drain, because that's not where you're meant to live. You're meant to live in nature, not in my drain.
Yeah.
So I picked him up and popped him. I walked up the hill a little bit, popped him in a sort of sheltered area, and just let him on his way, basically. Because I thought,
Cute.
it's just a better
love that.
life for you. And then he
Yeah.
was like, "No," off he went. So I was like, awesome.
Nobody cared about me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had it once, a hedgehog where the horses used to live in the street. I thought that's no place for a hedgehog. The hedgehog should be in the hedge, right? So
Yeah.
I picked him up again with a glove on because I don't want to contaminate them, because I don't know if that's a good thing. And it's so funny, I brought him to the hedge, or her, and the horses, like Morgan was so curious, like she was really like nose in the hedgehog. I was like, leave the guy alone. Like, so I had to step over this fence, and I was in my work clothes because I was just checking on the horses on my way back from work, and it was like 10:30 at night. And I just climbed over this fence and put the hedgehog down, and then Morgan was still there, like leaning over the fence, like, I'm sniffing this dude. I was like, shoo, leave him alone. This poor guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nice when you have those little moments with them, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Special.
Yeah. Definitely. This last question is relatively new and came from a recent episode. So what limiting belief have you transcended thanks to horses?
Sure. Maybe we should be prepared.
I mean, Talya, maybe if you want to go first, and Gareth, you have
Sure.
a think.
So the limiting belief I had was nothing you do is ever good enough. That's a big one for me. Like, nothing you do is ever good enough. So then how horses have really helped me with that is, again, they will acknowledge that I'm trying, and they'll acknowledge that even on my worst days or most emotional days, like, they show up and they're there, and I always show up for them no matter what, and get them out of hectic situations if they ever get into them, like, so I think it's like, it's having worked with horses and have horses, I'm starting to believe that maybe what I do is good enough. And maybe it's not about some like dramatic world altering thing on a Monday that's going to change the world. Maybe it's the way I am with horses or animals, or just caring a little bit deeper. So yeah, they've transcended. I am still working on it. It's not a fully like healed thing. Because I'm very hard on myself. I'm quite the over perfection achiever type person. But they definitely have taught me that even when you feel like you're not good enough, you really are. Like, you're everything. Because sometimes I've been somebody's everything,
Yeah. My answer is exactly the same to that question, by the way. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So like, I answered the self-worth thing for the first question, but in terms of the actual limiting belief, it's not just negative self-worth. I don't think it's a unique thing. We have a negativity bias as humans, and I think, and for me, it was definitely a thing where you believe that you are the sum of every bad thing you've done. And that is the thing that horses continually get me over. Because if I was the sum of all those bad things I've done, they wouldn't want anything to do with me.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you both for your answers to all those questions. They were lovely. One thing I like to ask before I wrap up is I like to give space for, is there anything else that's coming up for you that you'd like to share, or any other horse you'd like to mention and bring into this recording before we wrap up?
Sure. Yeah, so I lost a horse about 2 years ago, and he's a horse that I bred selectively from my 2 best horses. And I had a deep connection with him, and anyone that rode him said he was like the personification of everything I teach and I espouse. And so when I lost him, it wasn't just losing him, it was the scientific experiment of everything I stand for, and went with him. And I mean, I sometimes feel a little guilt about like having him carry that as well. But it was a lot. But there's so much that I learned from losing him. Not like on a negative, but on the positive of my memory of my last ride on him, and the absolute joy and flow we had on that last ride has impacted how every time I swing a leg over a horse, I'm thinking, how will I act if I know that this is the last ride I ever have on this horse? And that's made a massive impact on what I expect, because expectations are real. As long as they're fair, they're not a negative. What I expect of them and what I allow for them becomes filtered through the thing of, what if this is the last time I ride this horse?
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Talya, do you have anything?
I don't. No.
Well,
No.
thank you both for your time, and
Thank you.
also for the animals who are joining us at the end of this podcast recording. I can hear them all. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, it's getting loud.
I imagine it's a very rich and deep, like, evening chorus that you hear with
Oh,
all
yeah.
the creatures. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in the
All
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're constantly
So-
finding new quiet places for like online video coaching podcasts, because our place, it has a raucous chorus of guinea fowls, ducks, chickens, pigs. And this pretty stuff is nothing compared to what it sounds like there. And I've had one client say, "What is that?" And it's a guinea fowl. And every time I spoke, he would crow a little louder and
As
like
if the
drown me out.
conversation was with him.
He thought I was talking to him.
Yeah.
So
That's
we've
amazing.
prepared finding quieter spaces for the video coaching.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Love it. So before we wrap up, where can people find you guys?
So Facebook, the horse stuff is under Heartfelt Horsemanship. My personal page is Gareth Marie, and on Instagram, Heartfelt Horsemanship, TikTok, Heartfelt Horsemanship, YouTube, Heartfelt Horsemanship, and Patreon. We have a multiple tier learning platform, which is videos on the sensibility side of things and what is the nuts and bolts of how we do things, and a little bit of the balancing the science, soul, and sensibility. I keep the subscriptions as low as possible. There's 3 tiers. You've got a free tier and 2 upper tiers. And we want this stuff to be accessible. And if I can help people in person through video coaching, and a lot of people hear video coaching and think, how the hell do you do video coaching with horses? It's such a practical thing.
Mm.
Most of what we do is talking about mindset. But even with the practical nuts and bolts, you'll be surprised how effective it can be over a video call.
Yeah.
And myself, so it's Talya Marie on Facebook. I've got Heartfelt Healing on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm either going to change that platform more in alignment with the flash release, but that might change at a later point. And then I've started a new project as well. It's called Gambit Foundation. People can just go and see what that's about. That's all I'm saying about it right now. It's just a brief one. It's about wild animals and pretty much taking a stand on unjust or unjust euthanasia. So yeah.
And all of our links can be found through our website, which is heartfelthorsemanship.org.
Yeah,
So
that would be a better platform.
If you want to find any of these, probably should have started with that.
Go
Heartfelt
there.
all the links are there, and electric hat
Amazing.
stands on for the music
We
side.
should put
Electric
that
hat
on
stands.
Yeah.
we should put that there too.
Yeah. I'm going to try and remember that. Well, I can just listen again, but yeah, to the recording, and then I'll be like, it's this.
Yeah.
But no, thank you both very, very much for your time this evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Have a good weekend.
I can't remember a time before you walked into my life. You took the broken parts of me and made it all alright. There's an easiness to your grace that I will never know, and every day this feeling only grows, and every moment with you just bleeds into one. Your easy smile greets my eyes just like the morning sun, a reflection of my soul, one heart that beats for two. Just know, my love, there